intensification.
Image intensification. Somebody read the syllabus.
I was gonna say production.
Thank you. All right, so what this is about, and I probably mentioned this to you probably earlier in the term, when you used to watch cartoons, maybe you still do. You know, somebody'd swallow something, they put them behind a screen, and what did you see? You'd see it moving around in the abdomen, right? That's what we're going to talk about today, how that works. And this subject today is part of, let's see here. Asia, did I pronounce that right?
Asia, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You're doing a myelogram.
Yes.
Okay. Christina's doing ERCP. Mallory, angiography. Those three areas utilize what we're going to talk about here today. So, initially, this concept was called fluoroscopy. Some people still talk about it. And what it involves some studies do, yeah. Here's the. Now, I know you guys spend time in the lab upstairs. Did you ever look at the equipment? Okay, well.
I tried to, but then it came back over.
But you've all probably had an x-ray, right? Where's the x-ray tube in relationship to the table? It's over. It's over the table. But for this, it's
Side.
no.
Underneath.
Huh?
Nice.
Okay.
Good job.
Table, and then who would be here? The patient.
So it's under the table?
It's under the table. And we talked about the tube, right? You got the diagram of the tube, right, on your bonus. So you know how that works. Well, it's under the table. We're not going to get into the specifics, but all of that is down here. The beam projects up, penetrates the patient. All right, so what do we do with it? Well, in early fluoroscopy, and this is primarily before World War II, what was above the patient was, you see these, now these things are old, you can see they're stained. These, out of the box, are white. And these are what we call fluoroscopy screens. What do you think they do? Here, I'll show you where it's placed, and then maybe you can answer a little bit. It would be placed right here. Bless you. Okay? And I'm only talking right now about one of them. So let's say we just place one of them here.
Is that the IR?
It would
In
be.
place of the IR?
It would be. Now this is, pre-World War II. So we have tube producing radiation, penetrates the patient, and what? Hits the screen. What does the screen do? Absorb the radiation and give off light in the form of an image, but they were very, very hazy shadows. And all that the folks did back then, was complain about the shadows. They weren't sharp enough. We can't really see much. And then of course, if you stood and looked right at the screen, guess what you were getting? Face full of radiation. So let's go back and talk about that image on the screen was poor. So now let's talk about the eye. Have you heard of these words? Okay. Rods and cones. You guys remember that? A and P? So what are you using right now? We're in an illuminated room. Is this rod vision or is this cone vision?
Talk about both. Like, you mean predominantly?
Yeah, oh yeah, in a nicely lighted room. We are using what?
Cones?
We're using cones. And when you're using cone vision, you can see detail and sharpness. Things look so much better. But back in the day when you were doing this, you were doing it in a dark room, very dark room, so you could see the screen. Then you were using rods. So when you're in a dark room, when you get up in the morning, you're on what? You're doing rod vision. Okay? Rod vision doesn't allow you to basically do much. Could you read a book? No. Okay? And then when you turn the light on, your eyes are transitioning to what? Cone vision. So these folks were looking at the screen using rod vision. No wonder they didn't like it, because when you're using rod vision, detail and sharpness, and another word we use called resolution, you just can't see it. So they complained about it. But it was better than nothing. So, after World War II, this was revolutionized into something called image intensification. Some folks just say II. All right, a very similar scenario. Okay? Same scenario. Tube, penetrate the patient. And then we had a device here called a image intensifier. Pretty good. It kind of looks like this. Okay. And we refer to this as the image intensifier. This part here is called the carriage. This is called the tower. And it's over the patient it's connected to the tube, so you can move it up and down, and it stays attached. Now, these tubes that we use here, they're not, when you make a regular X-ray exposure, it's a split second. These tubes and these fluoral and image intensification units, they're on for minutes. They're special tubes to do what? Take a lot of, what's the byproduct after radiating? Heat. Okay? They're made that way. So they're on continuously. It's a continuous beam. So let's take a look at the component parts of the image intensifier. All right, so look at my drawing there. What is immediately above the patient? Something called the what? Carriage. The carriage. And the carriage has controls on it. So let's talk about the first layer here. Okay? Is that creaking? This part here, the first layer here, right above the patient, has something called an input screen. Input screen. It absorbs radiation and converts it to light. It's made out of, the input screen is made out of cesium iodide. It converts X-ray energy to light. This is a great deal. This is a great deal. So this is input. This is a great deal. You should be able to invest your money this good. Because for every X-ray photon, you get 50. Now, so then the light photons strike the next layer. That's called the photocathode. So what hits the photocathode? What? Light. Light hits the photocathode. This, pardon me?
She had it right. She should have been louder.
So you like these words. I mean, all right? These words are appropriately chosen. Photocathode. What does cathode mean?
Electrode.
Does the cathode do what? Does it create electrons? That's what this does. It takes light and turns the light into electrons. So now we have an electron beam. Isn't it? I mean, we're just changing these forms of energy. So now we have an electron beam. We started with X-ray, we went to light, and now we have all these electrons.
Is there a name for that bottom screen?
Input screen. Now let me label it for you. And as long as we're on it, if you have an input screen, you have a
Output.
Oh, you guys have your fastball today. That's at the top. So what is, yes, Steve?
If you have one X-ray photon converted to 50 light
Yeah.
energy,
And this is even better.
Okay.
This is even better. Because by the time I get to that output screen, we got a lot of light compared to down below. So let's look at how we we've got an electron beam. Everybody agree here? We got to get those electrons where? What's it called?
Tower, or to the
Up the tower. Oh, I like this. Up the tower to the. How do we do that? Along the way here.
Magnets.
Oh, I like your thinking. But no. There's something there called electrostatic focusing lenses. They have different types of charge on them that do what to the electrons? Move them up the what, Molly?
Tower.
The tower. So they're racing up that tower and they're banging into what? The output screen.
They're focusing what now? Say that again.
They're called electrostatic focusing lenses. They pull, with different charges, they pull that and this is, you gotta understand this guy. This is continuous. No, this is lead line. Okay, this is, because people sound, yeah. So those electrons are shooting up the tower. And you see how it kind of gets smaller. Okay, so what we're doing is, well, let me give you the dimension here of the input screen will be like that. This would be like circular. All right, so, and those electrons hit the output screen and give off what? A lot of, I didn't tell you what the output screen's made. It converts these electrons to what? Light. So we got a lot of light up here. Okay. Now, so, and how do we get all this light? Two ways. We had maybe a 9-inch input screen, minified down to a 1-inch. So in other words, they're all pushed together, and we get something called, well, that's called minification. Going from a bigger screen here to a smaller there, that's called minification, and there's something called the flux gain. And that is the fact that these electrons are doing what? Shooting up, hitting that screen, making a big bright image. It's brighter. Remember I told you early on they complained that the images were too dull? They took care of it. All right, so. What's that? And the, very good, everybody see that? Now I'm going to start drawing. Not my forte. And when you recognize what I'm drawing, yell it out. Okay? What?
So is that the thing that you hold? That would make sense. That's fine.
It's like a
button. No, it's two.
Is what?
Two.
You're close.
Cathode and anode.
Screen.
We're reading light.
Did you know the generator?
SpongeBob.
That's, dude, I was thinking the same.
All right. You don't recognize that? Come on, guys.
It's a
Washing machine?
Okay. Front load. All right, so let's break this down.
Is it really a washing machine?
What are these?
Wheels.
Huh?
Wheels.
Wheels. Yeah. So what is this? These are controls. What would this be?
Screen.
Viewing screen.
All right, so what is this now? It's a TV monitor. All right, now go backwards to this now. What is this?
Tower.
Pardon me?
Tower.
Oh, no, the tower is in the II, image intensifier. What's this?
Something that can read the light output. I don't know what that would be called.
Okay, how about this? How about this? TV camera. So they have a TV camera sitting above the what?
The light output.
Output screen. All right, so now we have, you've probably heard of this,
CCTV.
closed circuit TV,
Hey.
and you watch it.
Imagine the part.
Okay, you can watch it on TV monitor. And again, you know, and again, you know, like what's the example I gave of in the abdomen?
Fish.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, you got this.
Oh, no.
That's an infinity signal.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There it is. You see it moving because this is a continuous process. That's a TV screen. There it is. And it's brighter. And you know, what did we say here that you guys like to use rods or cones? What do you like? Cones. So now, this room doesn't have to be dark. Okay? You can use your cone vision. The patient isn't so anxious because it's a lighted room. If you wanted to do some things in the room, you have light, and you can do it like you're doing the myelogram, okay? And there's procedures on the myelogram that you need to do, but not in a dark room, right? You can do them in a lighted room. So there's so many advantages of this to this. So, now, any questions? So this is, you know, we can watch this stuff on live TV. But if we want a record, how do you think we do that? In other words, you know, a permanent record?
Digital or hard copy?
Let's just do that. Okay? If it's not digital, it's what? There you go. So let's talk about some analog images. Okay? Yeah, it can be digitized. Digital fluoral, yeah. In other words, the light there at the output screen is just digitized and worked with. But let's talk about some analog images. You guys have ever heard somebody that's had a heart cath? You ever heard of that procedure? Cardiac catheterization? All right. They use this in that environment. And when they first started to do it, they used black and white motion picture film. And they recorded it right here off the what? Output phosphor. So they made a movie. Of course, then the movie film has to be processed in a machine, and then, you know, it can be viewed. They don't do that anymore because we have electronic imaging. So okay, so you can do what they call cine fluoroscopy. Does that make sense, those terms? Or, what else can you do with this TV signal? I'm drawing an accessory here to the monitor. Yell out when you know.
Recorder.
There you go. What kind of recorder?
Well, depends on which era we're talking about.
I'll take any.
Are we talking about VHS or
I was gonna
DVD
say
or
it looks like a VHS.
VCR,
VCR?
right? There's a VCR, or you can put it on a disc, record it on a disc. Where do they use this? We have a study You ever heard of that? Anybody?
Real cookies?
It is. It's a crackers or a cookie mix that's coated. Have you heard of this term, barium? Do y'all know what that is? No? You know, when you got to drink the white chalky stuff better? So you get a mixture of that on a cookie or something, crackers to eat. So let me talk about this. So it's for people that have had strokes. And in trying to evaluate somebody that's had a stroke, they want to see their swallowing mechanism. Y'all with me? So they put them under an image intensifier. Okay? And you give them this mixture to chew, and then you image the swallowing function to get an evaluation on their ability to swallow. And who will do this? Well, a radiologist will provide the image. And let's say it's a VCR. Image goes to the VCR. You've all probably heard of a speech pathologist, right? They get involved. They take the image and take it back and view it on their monitor to evaluate the swallowing function. The real difficulty in this examination is, patients that have had strokes, getting them to sit up straight, okay, in front of the image intensifier. They don't fall. So you give them something to eat and they can evaluate. So you can record it, like I said earlier, on black and white 35 millimeter cine film, or you can do it on a VCR, okay? And then they had other cameras that they would put out here, and it would take some of the light and record it on little black and white pictures, but they were a mess. You had a stack of them, you had to sit there and look at them. Okay. But yeah, today it's all digitized and it can be saved on a disk. Okay. So, image intensification. Any questions on that? Now, there's something else. Did we talk about something called X-ray interaction with matter? Did we talk about any of those? Okay. Again, Steve, photoelectric and Compton. Remember Compton? What's the other word for Compton? What does Compton do? It's scattered. All right, so when you have the patient, here's your tube, here's your patient, it's a continuous beam, your patient is producing what? Scatter. And it's continuous. So we have right here, it's part of it's something called a filter. Oh, you're close. We don't call it a filter. We call it a what? It's a grid. And it's a device. It has fine lead strips that do what to the scatter? Absorb it to get rid of the scatter to enhance the image. So we use a grid. Another thing too, if you're ever in an environment like this, you'll want to wear what? A lead apron, because like I said, it's continuous and the patient is giving off scatter. Now they've tried, well, they're out there. they have what they call remote image intensification rooms, where you can make everything work from behind the control panel. Where would that not work? Okay, let me give you some age groups. I'm talking about remote fluoral. Everybody's behind the control panel. The patient's there, and we're doing fluoroscopy, creating the image.
Little children, small.
Kids. Somebody's got to what?
Hold on.
Make sure that kid doesn't fall off the table. Okay? You gotta make sure that. So that's kind of a disadvantage to the remote piece. So, earlier identified the myelogram uses this. Who's doing ERCP? And they use this in the angiography. Who's doing angiography? They use this. They use this system. Trying to think of where else do we use this? Now again, as far as therapy goes, they'll do these studies. This device is primarily used with gastrointestinal studies. Okay. Lesions, cancerous lesions in the esophagus, the stomach, can all be diagnosed with this device. Cancerous type lesions in the colon would be diagnosed with this device. Have you heard of the term apple core lesion? Have you heard that term yet? Okay, let me. All right, so we're using the image intensifier, and tell me what I'm drawing here. No, not you. What am I drawing here? Okay, what's down here? Colon.
Oh. Wow. Okay.
Cecum, what's this?
Oh my gosh.
Appendix, right? Right?
Symptom, transverse.
What's this called here?
The something flexure.
Yeah, it's on the left. Splenic, hepatic. So then you get down here. Can I erase this? You guys are okay with that? Now, in the descending colon, you know what diverticulosis is? You're going to see a ton of that. Keep in mind, this colon now, to see these things, has to have barium in it. So you'll see a spattering of diverticulosis, especially in older people. That's just kind of an incidental finding, unless it's bothering them. But you have these other things in here. What am I drawing now? Polyps, right? Polyps. But here's the serious one. What's that now? Pardon me?
That's an occlusion.
Right. What would, and this is the one I've brought up, it's called the what? It's a phandular, you guys will learn it, adenocarcinoma, blah, 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 blah. But it presents itself as an apple core lesion. Okay? So in other words, it grows in the circumference of the colon. All sides.
So like an apple missing its core?
Take the core out.
Okay.
Take the core out, What goes through the core then? The barium.
Oh.
You with me? The barium will go through the core. If the core was there, nothing would move. It'd be completely obstructed. But because it grows in that circular fashion, and it's got that opening, the barium will, and you just see a little stream. And they make the diagnosis. And that's a radiology term. Does it make apple core lesion? It's what they use. And here's the downside. These lesions in the lumen will grow. Okay, well, what other way do they grow? Go ahead, Steve. They grow out. Not, they just don't stay confined here.
Are these officially cancerous lesions?
Oh yeah, we're talking, this is a okay. So it grows inward and it grows outward. And what do you get when you start getting? Yes. Okay. And I can remember a case we had back in the day in Illinois. How long have you had rectal bleeding? And he said, it was many months, and it was kind of a little late, So I do remember that one. So those are some of the studies we do this with. It's more exposure than taking a simple image. Okay, it's more exposure, but again, it all gets down to something we call risk reward. Okay, so any questions on this? This is how image intensification works. I thought you guys did a good job following this. So let's go over the schedule. Any questions? Let's go over the schedule of who's up next week. Does everybody know who's up next week? And Christina. Okay.
I'm first.
I didn't say that yet.
Oh.
I mean, does it matter?
I guess not.
Yes, if you're first, I think it matters.
Hey, you set the bar. Who wants to set the bar?
That's what I'm saying, no.
Huh? Set the bar.
Who's first?
Let's play rock, paper, scissors.
You guys can do that if you want.
Who else on the first day? I had a question, I forgot.
Well, I'll be here for a little bit.
Okay, I'm thinking. Oh,
I have a couple questions on this.
Okay. Oh, on the test? All right, so you want to go over that?
Just the ones that I missed, and if anybody else wants to
Go here.
go missed.
For the vendors on the
Yeah, that's
presentation,
I wanted to,
do you want like companies you can purchase it from, or the companies that manufacture it, or both? Or does it matter for vendors?
Pretty much companies that manufacture it, distribute it. Yeah, just throw some names out. Okay, now who's doing CT? Okay, here's your challenge. You ready?
ready.
Early CT scanners. You need to find this one. Work had a name. And they were owned by a very popular musical group. Did you find that yet?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
I haven't done the history part, so that's probably why.
There it is. Okay, we're all gonna be, oh, you have 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm on my introduction,
Yeah.
so.
Oh,
So do we just like from a professor email them to you so that like they make sure that they work here?
No, that's up to you to make sure they work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, how do I get it from my computer?
you can download it to the flash.
Jane knows how this works, right?
Oh, barely.
Yeah, this is up to you guys.
Looks like tomorrow we're gonna have a computer lesson in here. Yep. Well, now it's coming over.
All right, so what questions do you have about the exam? You want an answer? I'll throw it at you.
15 and 18.
Same, yeah, 15 and 18.
Same.
Same.
C
Did we all miss the same ones?
Yeah.
15
and
and 18?
C and D.
C and D.
So the function of the stator and
Oh,
vertex
isn't
index.
That's why we got it wrong.
What?
That's why we got it wrong, because there's not a C. It says A, B, B, D, and I put
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
That was what the heck?
Oh my god, how did I not notice that?
That's why we got it
Oh.
wrong. I was wondering.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so
That is
are you looking at 15?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't notice
I circled the one for rotate the
Okay,
anode.
all right, so tell me what the right answer is.
Rotate the anode.
All right, I'll tweak that. Everybody gets 4. Is it 4? 4.
Dang, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
4.
Got it.
What, number 18?
And
Yeah.
then 18, yes.
Okay.
A, B, I chose C.
I chose C as well.
me too.
Another typo. What would be the right answer?
C.
C,
No. Yeah.
If
For the
D,
matrix?
if D
for the
wasn't messed
matrix.
up,
The more
then
pixels you
yes.
have, the better.
If D had another number,
Right, if D was right. I looked at D and I, oh,
so
I
does
picked it
everybody get
first.
8, right?
Yeah,
8
that,
points?
that gives me 100 points. That's the whole
And
shebang.
then, and then online, I think they got it right for, what's 21?
21. 21, I have A.
Yeah, and that's, remember, that's the one I scribbled through and you were gonna look at it?
Bring it up here.
I got 100.
So we all get 8 more points?
Yeah.
Awesome. I was curious as to how I missed that. 'Cause I was
Me
like-
too.
I was like, that makes no sense.
How we all didn't figure this out
That
earlier?
one,
We all
the
had the
last one,
same.
which I scribbled through and you said you would, you put a little star
So
here.
Stevie, you
here.
get 12.
Never mind.
12, damn.
Thank you.
12. Holy moly.
Okay, we're done with that.
He's the right one.
I'm only going so far with this.
Except, can you tell me what number on the bonus label, just because, you know, I think,
Sure.
number 8, 4,
Anode,
1 is
8 is what?
number 8
Yeah.
is the anode.
What's number 4?
Oh, what's number 4?
Anode.
Oh.
I thought A was
I put
pointing
target.
towards A.
Anode one for one and tungsten for the other.
Fine.
How about 5?
Rotor.
I'll take
Yeah, what was
Rotor.
that?
I'll take
Rotor?
the points.
What
Oh,
was that?
207.
Yeah, there were 7.
Rotor.
Rotor.
Oh my god.
I mean, I never told you there was like a front part of the rotor, a back rotor.
That was
Oh, yeah, you're right,
confusing.
rotor.
That was very confusing.
No, it can't be, right?
So these are gonna be extra 8 points for those 2 questions. I know.
That's
You know,
probably fun for you to
It's
go
in,
change.
pardon me?
That's probably fun for you to go change all of them.
It's not that
Oh.
hard. I mean, you guys earned it. To a degree, I allow this because you appear interested. Okay.
What's nice to know.
But I don't, this is not in perpetuity, we just don't keep doing it.
That was the last exam, so we're